leader that we are blessed to have as the vice chairman of the National Board of Directors, none other than Karen Boykin-Towns, hailing from Brooklyn, New York. Give her a round of applause.
Good morning, delegates.
Good morning.
So as you know, I am from New York City. We probably have the largest grouping of Puerto Ricans than the island of Puerto Rico. So I am honored that I've been asked to introduce our special guest this morning. Ricardo Rosselló is the 12th governor of Puerto Rico. He was elected back in January of 2017, and you can learn a lot about a man by their wife. And we are joined by his beautiful, talented, exceptional wife, Beatriz, who is here. Thank you so very much. And while he is certainly in politics, that did not have to be his choice because he has a degree in biomedical engineering, including a PhD from the University of Michigan in biomedical engineering. So he is smart. Now, we all know about the devastating hurricane that hit the Caribbean last year. Hurricane Maria is on record as being the costliest hurricane at about $91.6 billion. And despite the fact that it may not be on the front page of our newspapers and on the networks, the island of Puerto Rico and the Caribbean is still suffering. And so we have the governor here this morning where he will be talking to us about the conditions that are happening there, but also talking about the importance of this great association and the partnership that we are establishing. And not to get ahead of anything, and don't tell anyone I told you, but we're really, really excited that in the fall, based on his leadership and the importance of the work that we are doing, we are looking to open a branch on the island.
All right, all right, all right.
So through the leadership of Chairman Russell and President Johnson, these are the types of things we are looking to do. And, you know, despite when some people might think, these are American citizens. They're us. So without further ado, I'd like to bring on our friend, Governor Rosselló of the great island of Puerto Rico.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning. May the Lord bless all of you. Thank you for this great opportunity. I mean, if you're passionate about civil rights, as I am, this is the place you want to be. This is where it all started. And I am thrilled to be here. I want to thank President Johnson, Vice President Russell. I want to thank Hillary as well for his leadership in all of this process and everybody that has made this event possible. You know, I want to start by telling you a story about one of the founding fathers, one of the forefathers of Puerto Rico. His name was Jose Barbosa. Jose Barbosa was born in the 1800s, a man of not very many resources. He was of African descent, came to Puerto Rico, and started developing into one of the premier leaders of our island. But it wasn't without obstacles, as you know. He wanted to become a medical doctor, and he had all of the credentials to do it. So he got accepted into the University of Michigan as one of the first in Puerto Rico to do so. Now, Why did he have to go to the University of Michigan? Because he was not accepted in the University of Puerto Rico, where he came from, because of the color of his skin. He had to come to Michigan as a black Puerto Rican and teach everybody what he could do. He became the valedictorian there. And once he had that experience, and mind you, this is the late 1800s, he saw the interesting project that the United States of America was unfolding. He knew, by all accounts, that equality was not there, but that the aspiration for equality was a project that he wanted to be part of. That man, whom we celebrate 161 years next week, is one of our forefathers and is the father of the statehood movement in Puerto Rico. Now, why is this important? Puerto Rico has had a very strong history of civil rights limitations. We were first colonized by Spain, and we were a possession of Spain for 400 years. In the Hispanic American War, Puerto Rico was passed to the United States, and then a couple of years afterwards, we were granted U.S. citizenship. With that U.S. citizenship, our men and women fought side by side in all of the wars, having Puerto Rico have the highest per capita rate of military personnel in all of the United States compared to other states. We have battled, but unfortunately, we still don't have equal rights. The people of Puerto Rico, the U.S. citizens of Puerto Rico, cannot vote for our president and our commander-in-chief. We cannot vote for a voting member of Congress. We don't have equal rights when it comes to Medicaid, when it comes to education, and when it comes to other programs. It is time to make a change and end colonialism. Colonialism in the 21st century is segregation in the 21st century. Now, a lot has happened, fortunately, in the past couple of years that has given new light to this conversation. Puerto Rico is now, as was Washington, D.C. at one point, under the guise of a fiscal oversight board, completely sidetracking our democratic rights in Puerto Rico. If that wasn't enough, Puerto Rico also felt the pain of the most devastating disaster in the modern history of the United States, and all of you saw it and are seeing it on your screens. And after seeing that impact, many people in the United States that did not know we were U.S. citizens now know that we're a full part of this nation. But it was also clear that U.S. citizens in Puerto Rico don't have the same rights, that we were treated differently than other citizens in Texas and Florida and other parts of the United States. And that is simply not the way that the United States needs to go. That is simply not part of the fabric of the great nation that we support. And that is why I am so proud to be here. That is why I am so grateful for your leadership, for embracing the only way we can get equal rights, equal participation for the people of Puerto Rico, which is getting that 51st star on the U.S. flag and making Puerto Rico a full state of the United States. And we need to do it because there's a lot of issues connected here. I think a lot of you saw past week when a young Puerto Rican woman in Cook County had reserved a place to have a meeting, a party with her family, and another individual started insulting her and berating her because she wore a Puerto Rican flag. This all happened in front of police officers that did not stand up to that sort of bigotry that is not part of what we've been fighting for the past centuries. And this is exactly the type of hate we need to change. This is exactly why I support the slogan, the mantra here in this convention, where we need to end hate, and we need to go out and vote to end that hate. And we need to do so because, whether we like it or not, it is gut check time for America. It is the time for us to realize and to define what we want to be in the future. Do we want to be the standard bearer of democracy in the world? Or do we want to have hiccups in our own backyard, where 3.5 million U.S. citizens have chosen not once but twice in the past 5 years they want to become a state, and nothing has happened? Do we want to give way to bigotry and hate? Or do we want to start a conversation of decency and common courtesy and equality for everybody, and showcase that United States is the place to do so? You have stood up in the past. You have made the difference in the past. You have fought for our civil rights, for our way of life, for inclusion, for welcoming others that are different, for making that a piece of the fabric of the United States, for making us greater in that context. So today, I stand before you humbly to ask you once again for your support. Ask you, as John Lewis did in the past, to support, not to support. I'm asking you to rise up and stand up and support Puerto Rico. I'm asking you to stand up for civil rights. I'm asking you to stand up and fight for equality. I'm asking you to give way to our life and to not shy away from the battle that is ensuing for our civil rights, for our liberty. With you together, we will build a better Puerto Rico and a better nation. God bless you, and thank you.
Now that you're standing up, I believe, but I could be wrong, that the packet of emergency resolutions has been passed among you. Okay, some of you who are late coming in don't have the packet. I understand that. And I'm going to beg your indulgence. I'm going to beg your indulgence. In that packet is a resolution that says NAACP strongly supports the Puerto Rico Admission Act of 2018. The resolve reads, therefore be it resolved that the NAACP reaffirm its strong support for Puerto Rican statehood as affirmed by the Puerto Rican people in their June 2017 plebiscite and as stated in the Association's 2017 emergency resolution. And be it further resolved that the NAACP strongly supports passage of the Puerto Rican Admission Act, H.R. 6246, in the 115th Congress. And be it finally resolved that the NAACP call upon all of its units and members to become educated about the history and diversity of the Puerto Rican people, the vast majority of whom are U.S. citizens, as well as the challenges they currently face, most recently in the light of the slow and inadequate federal government response to the damage inflicted on the island by Hurricane Maria. I would entertain a motion to adopt this resolution. Is there support? Delegates, those in favor will raise your voting cards. Thank you. Those opposed, raise your voting card. Ladies and gentlemen, let us confirm to the governor of Puerto Rico that the NAACP strongly affirms the position that Puerto Rico should gain statehood immediately.
Yes. That was great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, delegates. Mr. Hooper.
Again, we want to thank Governor Rosalo. At this time, I have the pleasure to bring to the stage a young lady who will provide a student charge. Her name is Antoinette Badello from Connecticut. Please welcome her.
Fired up? Ready to go? Fired up? Come on. Ready to go? Okay, how are you enjoying the convention thus far? Having a good time? I know I am. I'm trying to get some sleep, and in between that, get some water. And I know the young professionals party last night didn't really help much for other people that went last night. But it's my pleasure to bring this charge on behalf of the NAACP Youth and College Division in the small but mighty state of Connecticut from Region 2. And I want to acknowledge my Connecticut State Conference President, Scott X. Esdale, and National Board Member. To the Board of Trustees, National Office, and NAACP members, it is an honor and a privilege to stand before you today. Right now, it is very easy to grow weary in this political, cultural climate that we are in, with issues of police brutality, with the recent young man that was murdered by being shot in the back 3 times in East Pittsburgh, separation of immigrant families, gun violence, where the NRA and elected officials value a gun more than a human life, than mine and yours, than gun control and gun reform. And to not forget Permit Patty and Barbecue Becky that calls on people for just simply trying to sell water and having a barbecue in a park. It appears easiest to hang our head and cry. However, let us pivot for a moment and focus on love. The single word that steers away hate, that silences tears, that heals the broken and wounded. Let's focus on that. Supporting one another, being a strong community that loves and that cares for one another. We already have so many battles to face, so we should never let our personal feelings with one another conflict with our vision and pursuit for justice. Earlier this year, I had the privilege to see Angela Davis, and she said to me, the essence of Black history is a struggle of freedom. Moving towards freedom is an infinite process. Freedom may never be attainable, but young people know that we have too much at stake to be quiet about the issues that matter. We are young and powerful, might I say. We must remain visible, stand in unity and courage, because the fight is a continuous process. We will stand proud and strive against all odds. And like J. Cole says, what's the price for a Black man? I checked the tote tag, not 1 0 in sight. Society might not always value us, but we remain strong and resilient, preaching the message of Solange. Don't touch my pride. They say the glory's all mine. Don't test my mouth. They say the truth is my sound. We will scream truth to power, loving who we are. Like Beyonce said, I like my baby hair and baby hair afros. I like my Negro nose with Jackson 5 nostrils. Love ourselves and our people, knowing that at the end of the day, if God got us, then we gonna be all right. Let's keep fighting by protesting. Let's keep fighting by holding our elected officials accountable. Let's keep fighting by making our voices heard. Let's keep fighting by educating and registering people to vote and getting them to the polls. So let's work together, get people involved, because it's our duty to defeat hate and vote. Thank you.
Let's give Antoinette another round of applause. At this time, I will bring forward our fearless leader, none other than our President and CEO, Mr. Derek Johnson, for special remarks. Please give him a round of applause.
Good morning, delegates. In October, we called for a travel advisory against American Airlines because of consistent reports of harassment and the handling of African American passengers. Since that time, the General Counsel and I, we have engaged in ongoing discussions with American Airlines, and we are pleased this morning to bring to you the President and CEO, Doug Parker of American Airlines. Let's give him a hand.
Thank you. Thanks, Derek, and thank you all for allowing me to be here. It's just quite an honor. You know, I got to tell you, when the advisory was placed on American Airlines, we didn't like it. It didn't feel like who we are. And, you know, we, as a company, said to ourselves, you know, we pride ourselves on our diversity and inclusion. We're the largest airline in the world. What we do is we fly over borders and walls and stereotypes to connect people. So this can't be right. This can't be about us. And our initial reaction, I think, was probably similar to what other large organizations would do. Our initial reaction was to be defensive. We had those emotions, and we said to ourselves, you know, who else can we find to defend us? Let's circle the wagons. And that lasted about 12 hours. And then, fortunately, we happened to have a board meeting that next morning, a regularly scheduled board meeting. And as we were talking about this issue and talking defensively, one of our black board members, a man named Marty Nesbitt, says, you know, I think this is an opportunity. No one in corporate America is good at this. We shouldn't pretend like we are. We should take this and view it as what it is, which is an opportunity to go be better. And as soon as Marty said that, it just washed right over me as, there's the right answer. Defensiveness isn't the answer. The answer is to take this as a gift and to take it for exactly what it is and go make ourselves better, because Marty's exactly right. No one's great at this. And while we may be proud of our people and their diversity and our inclusion efforts, we can always be better, and we should be better. So we took this as a challenge, as an opportunity, as a gift. And over the course of the last several months, we've been working together with our own team, with a number of individuals, with the NAACP to develop a plan. The plan's been developed a while. We've been working through that plan. The plan includes bringing in an outside consultant to do a gap analysis to tell us exactly what the best in the world do and how far away we are from that, so that we can get ourselves to be the best in all sorts of, in every initiative related to diversity, inclusion, and equality. We have instituted implicit bias training for every member of American Airlines that will happen in 2018 and in every year after that. Thank you. We've improved our customer outreach and our customer complaint process for those customers who feel as though they may have been discriminated against, to improve our outreach, to get them better communication outlets than we've had in the past. And we're working, of course, with our own team to make sure that they have the ability to make sure their complaints are easily heard and know where to go. So that 4-point plan has been in progress for quite some time. We are not done, not anything close to it. And indeed, we will never be done. We know that. This is work that will continue forever. Our goal is to be the best in industry, and that's not work that will ever end. We are excited about our progress. We are thankful for the NAACP's activism and initiative to make America better. And we at American Airlines accept that challenge, and we appreciate being here to talk to you, and thank you for all you are doing as an organization and what you're doing for American Airlines. We appreciate it very much.
As the NAACP, we represent a value proposition of inclusion, equal protection of the law, and diversity. It is a value proposition that we should never barter away for 30 pieces of silver. That's important for us to maintain our integrity in these type processes. And so one of the things that Brad and I, your general counsel, we wanted to make sure as we entered into the conversation, we separated out the conversations and that value proposition from any solicitation to support the organization. That's important. So this is not about a big check presentation. This is about standing on or with our integrity to hold out that value proposition and being honest about outcomes. We are pleased with the outcomes that we've seen thus far, although more work is still to be done. Doug Parker and his team, everything that they said that they will initiate and or would do, they have done. So at this time, we are announcing that we are lifting the travel advisory against American Airlines. And we're doing this not because they closed shop for one day and did a training. Because racism and implicit bias didn't start in one day. You cannot fix it in one day. We're doing this because we have engaged in ongoing dialogue and we see a substantive plan that will be embedded in the culture of the organization and one we can measure over time. And if we see there's an opportunity to continue to push for even more, we will do so, but we also need to take the opportunity to congratulate them and commend them for working as hard as they've worked over the last 9 months to come up with an approach that fit both their business model but the sensitivity of their customer base. So with that, we are now announcing that the travel advisory against American Airlines is here and today lifted. Thank you, delegates of this association.
We want to thank Mr. Parker, and we want to thank our CEO for his fierce leadership. At this time, I have the distinct pleasure of bringing to the stage none other than Reverend Dr. Amos Brown, member of the National Board of Directors, president of the San Francisco branch, and the pastor of the Third Baptist Church in San Francisco, who will deliver a charge.
Good morning. Good morning.
Hey folks, Roland Martin here, of course, Roland Martin Unfiltered. We are broadcasting live from the 109th Annual NAACP Convention in San Antonio. Right now, we have the session where the delegates are voting on various resolutions. And you just heard Derek Johnson, President and CEO of the NAACP, announce they're lifting the travel advisory against American Airlines. Now prior to that, the governor of Puerto Rico, Ricardo Rosello, he actually talked to the audience here, and what they then did was delegates voted to also reaffirm the NAACP's position for statehood for Puerto Rico. And joining us right now is Governor Rosello. Governor, how you doing?
Thank you, Roland. I'm doing well. Excited to be here.
Good seeing you. First and foremost, before we get to the NAACP's decision on statehood, what is the status of the country of Puerto Rico still dealing with the aftermath of that devastating hurricane?
Yeah. Well, it's been a long ride. It's been very challenging. As you know, it was the biggest devastation in modern American history, and the recovery has been slow. What we're trying to do right now is leverage some of the resources that are going to come so that we can rebuild Puerto Rico stronger and better than before. So I would say we're right now sort of at the cusp of finishing with the recovery so that we can start with the rebuild, but it has been challenging and a little too long.
Obviously, electricity It's amazing how basic it is.
Yeah.
Until folks actually lose it.
Yep.
And that has been an issue. And so, how is that also going?
Well, it was very slow. I was very disappointed with how the effort ran with the Corps of Engineers. We had an expectation that it was going to be done in 45 days. The reality is that it's more than 9 months right now, and we're almost there. We're at above 99%, but it's still been very challenging now. Here's the exciting part. Now we can rebuild the grid much stronger, much better than it was before, and this is the opportunity that we have. Of course, it was the linchpin of our economy. It is the linchpin of society. If you don't have electricity, you don't have access to good quality health care. So it has been very challenging, and it has taken just too long to rebuild.
So let's just deal with the issue of statehood. Obviously, Puerto Ricans have been pushing for that. How important is it for the NAACP to continue to stay in with Puerto Rico?
This is of critical importance. As I stated when I started my speech, I said, if you love and feel passionate about civil rights, this is the place you want to talk, and this is the people you want to address. So to me, it was an honor to address them, to make sure that we had that support. We passed that resolution that supports the current bill, Bill 6246, that allows admission for Puerto Rico as a state. So it is of paramount importance for the NAACP to support this effort.
Last question for you. What do you want African Americans to do when it comes to Puerto Rico? There's an alliance in places like New York City.
Yes.
Also, we see it in Florida as well. But talk about that relationship. What would you like to see between Puerto Ricans and African Americans?
I would just like to see that so many of our issues are aligned that we can coordinate and build upon that. We have the same positions on issues such as education, healthcare, opportunities, fixing the criminal justice system, and so forth. And my petition would be is realize that we have all of our brothers and sisters that we want the same thing. Let's just get it together, get it in one voice, and just like the mantra says, let's go ahead, let's defeat hate speech, and let's go out and vote.
All right, well, Governor, I certainly appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Love to get your information, so love to bring our cameras there and visit Puerto Rico and just get an update on the status there.
Of course, we'd love to host you there.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Thanks a bunch. All right then, folks. And again, that was the governor of Puerto Rico, Ricardo Rosello. As I mentioned earlier, the American Airlines, the president and CEO, Doug Parker, addressed the NAACP here, where he also talked about, of course, what they have been doing. They're also lifting travel advisors. So it looks like we're going to be talking to him right now, and so we can go ahead and bring him over. And so we're going to come right ahead. Just take a seat right here.
How are you?
How's it going? Roland Martin.
Excellent, thanks.
All right, good seeing you. We're going to add third chair right there with Derek. And so let's get this all set up right now.
All right. We just share this?
Yes.
Right.
We'll do it. Normally we had one-on-one. Now we got 1 and 2. So first and foremost, glad to have you here, Mr. Parker. You talked on the stage about that initial response that took place after Tamika Mallory posted the videos about what took place with her. I had her on my show, TV One News One Now, and where she was quite emotional speaking about those issues. And obviously, no company wants to get put on blast. And you said there was this natural reaction to, defend, as opposed to listen to what she and other passengers were saying.
Yeah. Again, I guess it's natural. It's to think that's not who we are. Sure, we have events. We have 500,000 passengers a day, and we have 130,000 human beings that work at American Airlines. So we know we're not perfect, but in general, our response was, look, we're American Airlines. This is what we do. We connect people. We fly over borders and walls and stereotypes, and we were proud of our diversity and inclusion. But what happened then is, as we talked about it some more, we actually had a board meeting, and one of our black board members said to me, this is an opportunity. we should view it as an opportunity. This is a gift, and that's how once we started thinking of it that way, instead of an attack, and we started thinking, of course, no one's great at this, and we want to be the best.
But isn't that also indicative of why there has to be African American, Latinos, and others who are on boards of directors who bring different perspectives? Because the reality is you may have white board members who that's not their experience.
Absolutely. I think that's a big part of this story. I'd like to think we would have gotten there on our own, but I'm not certain of that. I know we got there more quickly than we would have because we have a diverse board, and it helped us.
And so once you did that, what did you then put in place? So I remember we covered it on the show, the meetings NAACP and others had, meeting with you and others. I think Tamika also was in,
Absolutely.
in some of those
Tamika played a
meetings
big
as
role in
well.
this.
And so what then was the next? You talked about this 4-point plan.
Yeah.
Exactly how did you get to that?
Well, we, within, a few days, sat down with President Johnson, with Tamika, a couple of others, and laid out to them this attitude. That said, look, we're viewing this as an opportunity. Here, at that point, the plan wasn't fully fleshed out, but we had some thoughts. We asked them for their thoughts, and together we came up with this plan. But we got together right away. We knew we needed to.
Derek, I want to now talk to you. And so when you were having these meetings, obviously we've seen the same thing happen with Waffle House. We've seen this in the past with Denny's and Texaco, and we can go down the line where corporations have run afoul of African-American customers. What was your intent walking in terms of what you wanted to come out with?
Well, first of all, we became aware of some issues when Dr. Barber was removed from a plan.
Yeah, Reverend Dr. Barber,
right?
when he was, I remember we had him on talking about that as well.
And that was followed up with Joe Taker Edie, who then complained. And then it was like a domino from there. We were very clear that corporate culture is a big ship, and it's not a swift boat. You can't turn around fast. And our goal was to look at the whys. How could something like this happen when a substantial part of the customer base are, in fact, African Americans? We carry our weight as consumers. We want to make sure that the solution is not a ready, fix, quick turnaround, but in fact a way of changing the culture to respect African Americans and other travelers differently than what people were saying they were being treated. Now, I cannot go to the veracity of anyone's incident, but when we begin to see a pattern, then there is something there.
Right.
And we want to address the pattern so people can have a better experience or exercise some dollar discipline. And that's our goal.
So in this 4-point plan, was the NAACP working alongside American Airlines to put this together, or was it driven by the airline?
Well, the initial conversation was some of the things that we would like to see. Doug, share some of the things in terms of they were talking about internally. Recommendations were asked for. It was an exchange. And when they came back with the final product, say this makes sense. It fit the reality both of their business model, but it also fit the reality of how we would like to be respected as consumers.
And Doug, what exactly were those 4 points of that particular plan?
Well, first, bringing in an outside consulting firm to just give us an independent assessment of where American is on all of and everything in the company as it relates to diversity.
Was that a black firm? Was that a?
It's a group. It's a group called IBIS Consulting.
Okay.
They do this for other large firms.
Okay.
Frankly, there aren't that many that do this kind of work on this large a scale. So it took us a while to find somebody, but they've been fantastic. They're doing focus groups with our customers, focus groups with our team members, and they're going to come back and give us, everything from recruiting to hiring to customer service, everything as it relates to how we are versus what the best in the world are in terms of diversity and inclusion. So we'll get that gap analysis and use that as a roadmap to get ourselves to be what we want to be, which is the best in the world on all these things. Second, implicit bias training for everyone in the company. We have 130,000 employees, all of whom will have some implicit bias training in 2018. A lot of that computer-based the first year because we wanted to get it out fast.
So you're saying all American Airlines employees have implicit bias training in 2018?
In 2018, and in 2019 it'll be in person. So, yeah, and it'll be part of our continuing education program. We expect to be part of our training program forever. Third, we've improved our customer outreach as it relates to discrimination claims. We, again, probably like other airlines, have those type of complaints go in just like we had flight delays. And someone that feels discriminated against should get a phone call at least, and be listened to a little faster and more direct, not even a lot faster. Not that we don't take care of the flight delays as well, but those go through a process that is different than we should handle discrimination claims. So we've changed that process, and we've changed our processes for escalating events on airplanes, making sure that it gets escalated to the right levels. The last thing we've done is for our team members. We always had, like large organizations all do, a process by which our team members could raise complaints about discrimination, but we found out it wasn't as well advertised as it should have been. Some people didn't know about it, and those who did, and a lot of people didn't trust it. So we've made it clear to everyone how the process works, and so those 4 things comprise the plan.
And Derek, how vital is it for corporations to respond quickly, to listen, and to make it clear that fighting it, you can do that, but at the end of the day, you're dealing with a customer-driven industry, and people can always say, fine, I'll take my dollars elsewhere.
But it's critical that companies understand when certain complaints become persistent and have an open dialogue with organizations like NAACP. One of the things when Doug and I first got on a call, he said, I wish someone would have called. I said, we didn't have anybody to call. There was no relationship. Corporations are driven by consumers. Consumers have organizations like NAACP where they vest their interest in, and that's why we're here as a vehicle. In addition to that, as NAACP, we understand that there needs to be a bottom line reality to all of these decisions. Doug, he's answerable to shareholders, and he's obligated legally to maximize their profit. We're consumers, so our approach needs to also align that reality. They're not foundations. We're not here just to suck up resources. We want to make sure that African Americans have a good experience like any other customers that support that airline.
Doug, were you surprised that American Airlines did not have a formal relationship with the NAACP?
Yeah, I guess so. Again, certainly. And I thought we do now. Again, we had outreach to a lot of organizations, but we didn't have one with the NAACP. And now we do, and we're pleased that we do.
Derek, when NAACP issued the travel advisory against the state of Missouri, and then when it issued against American Airlines, for folks who don't quite understand that, what was the value of that, and why did you think it was important to issue that?
But it was important for me in my tenure to utilize new tools to make sure that corporations are accountable to the needs and interests of African American customers. In addition to that, we are launching today a fund in partnership with a fund manager that's going to be traded on the stock market. We can't market it because we have an outside third party, and the values of NAACP around diversity and inclusion will be a part of what we evaluate to determine if these are good corporate citizens for the African American community.
And so what specifically was it when you reached that point where you said we should lift this travel advisory?
Well, when you sit down with a company, they come to the table with integrity, you have a set of agreements, and everyone follow through, it is incumbent upon NAACP to also be responsible and responsive that we had a set of things that we were pursuing. Those things are being met. Now let's inform our delegates in the community where we are. That is a character-driven proposition from this organization as we work with partners who also operate in integrity.
Doug, I'll go to you now. There are CEOs out there, some who have not responded that way. And I'll give you an example. A company like Waffle House continues to have problem after problem after problem. We tried to get the CEO on the Tom Joyner Morning Show, the largest urban radio show in America. They've canceled multiple times. Other companies have also fought it. What would you tell corporate leaders what they should be doing before there is an incident? What should they be doing now when it comes to issues like this?
Stop being defensive. Stop pretending like this is an issue that doesn't exist in your company, because it exists in all of our companies. There's no reason to pretend like it doesn't. And know that your customers want you to be diverse and inclusive. Your employees want you to be diverse and inclusive. That's what we all say, and that's what we should all go live and do. And again, every CEO is going to tell you they do it. I would have told you the same thing before. And it was true, by the way. I mean, this is not lip service prior to this. But what this advisory helped us see is that even though we're doing all those things, we can still do more. And we're not the best in the world, and we shouldn't just be compliant. We shouldn't just say we have all the programs in place. We should go be the best at this, because that's who we say we are.
And did you also begin to examine your relationships with other organizations to say, wait a minute, look, there are African Americans out there, there are fraternities and sororities and other groups where I just came from the AKA convention in Houston. It was 20,000 folks who were there. You have groups who are flying in huge numbers that you say, wait a minute, hold up. We got to make sure that we are connected with multiple groups outside of the folks we traditionally deal with.
Absolutely. And again, we have a lot of those relationships already in place, and we did. And we have significant marketing efforts to the African American community before this. But again, this is more about an attitude that says, if you're going to say that what you do is connect people and fly over borders and walls, then you should set a standard for yourself that's to be better than everyone else. And that's where our standard is now. And we weren't there, but that wasn't our standard prior to this, and now it is.
All right. Doug Parker, we certainly appreciate it. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Roland.
Thanks a bunch, Derek. Thanks a lot.
I'll see you later.
All right, absolutely. Appreciate it. All right, folks, let's just exit right there. Absolutely. So I appreciate it. So, again, folks, that was Doug Parker, who was the CEO of American Airlines, who came here to the NAACP convention to address the delegates here to talk about, of course, what took place with Tamika Merritt. And I know Tamika is here at the convention. I'm going to send her a text message. I would love to get her thoughts on the decision of the NAACP to pull their travel advisory. And so we will do that. So we certainly appreciate that exclusive interview with American Airlines CEO. And so we have some other interviews we'll be doing a little bit later, but right now we're going to return to the podium there to continue with what's happening on the stage here at the NAACP convention.
Total 135. At large, delegates, adults 9, alternates 0, observers 148, youth delegates 1, alternates 0, observers 0, total 158. Total adult delegates voting 1,201, alternates 81, observers 415. Youth delegates total 250, alternates 54, observers 105, total 2,106. I move adoption of the credentials report.
We'll bring Mr. Chairman to carry the motion. It's been properly moved. Is there a second? It's been properly moved and second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please raise your voting card. All those opposed, please do the same. The motion is passed. Credentials report is adopted. For the resolutions part of this process, addressing the NAACP. For what purpose does the delegate at mic number 2 rise?
It's on now. They turned it on. I knew it wasn't on.
Madam Huffman.
Yes, sir. 1 hour of the important legislative time has not been misused, but is not available for us. We only have 1 hour and 15 minutes left to do the important work that we all came to do. I have a question. Even the Huffman rule is not going to compensate today. What shall we do at 12:15 to get this work done that we've all come to do?
Let's do the work and see where we end up. But to your motion, to your suggestion, I'm going to bring up the beautiful woman that will be presiding over this resolutions process.
You think Miss Sweetlove will sit me down? Go ahead.
Miss Gloria Sweetlove, member of the National Board of Directors and president of the Texas NAACP State Conference, who will preside over the resolutions process. Tennessee, sorry. Tennessee State Conference, who will preside over the resolutions process. Please come to the podium.
I hope
First
she can
addressing
answer.
the wonderful lady from the California delegation.
Thank you, Mr. Hooper. Madam President, I would think that if we have not finished, then we will reconvene after the luncheons.
Thank you.
Yes. You better come over here. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Gloria Jean Sweetlove from Brownsville, Tennessee, and Mr. Russell tells me what to do, and at this time, we will begin to do our legislative process. Joining me this morning is Judge Fred Banks, NAACP National Board of Directors from Jackson, Mississippi, who will serve as a parliamentarian. We will stand in, as I said before, we'll stand in recess when we convene after we convene the special plenary session. We'll come back and do what we need to do if we do not finish.
All right. Mr. Russell. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I would refer you to the rules for the legislative session, which are found on the second to last page, actually the last page of your rules packet. All voting shall be done by displaying voting cards. No amendment shall be considered that has not been previously submitted in writing on the form provided in this packet right before these rules. No delegate may speak to a single issue more than twice. No delegate may speak more than 3 minutes per recognition. Delegates who wish to speak shall stand at a microphone to be recognized. Delegates who speak shall identify themselves by their name and the unit they represent. Resolutions shall be adopted by section unless a delegate asks to address an individual resolution with a proposed amendment or with debate. Now, I would remind you, pursuant to the Constitution of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, we will be considering resolutions submitted in accordance with the May 1st rule from our units across the nation. We will also consider emergency resolutions, which consist of issues that could not have been foreseen, should not have been foreseen prior to submitting resolutions in accordance with that rule. The resolutions that you will receive with respect to internal affairs, there will be no resolutions considered that would amend the Constitution of the NAACP. The Constitution is the province of the Board of Directors, and therefore amendments to the Constitution are done by the Board of Directors, and the Board considered numerous resolutions on Saturday with respect to amendments to the Constitution. Likewise, we shall not consider here any amendments or resolutions that consist of amendments to resolutions regarding state area conferences. Those resolutions, likewise, are the province of the Board. In accordance with the Constitution, on Saturday afternoon, the Board of Directors was noticed that there would be certain bylaws affecting state area conferences that they must consider at their October board meeting. That notice was proper and it was accepted by the Board of Directors. Therefore, I would turn our attention to the first section, commemorative and memorial resolutions, resolutions 1 and 2. Madam Chair, I move adoption of the commemorative memorial section. Oh, excuse me. My parliamentarian, the honorable folks, have reminded me I should have, before I launched into that, asked you to approve the rules of the convention. And it's properly moved and seconded, Madam.
There is a motion and a second that we would approve the rules. All those in favor, are there questions on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, raise your voting card. Thank you. Those opposed, likewise. The rules are approved.
Now, Madam Chair, staff, we have an amendment form. Madam Chair, I move adoption of the commemorative memorial section of the resolutions packet, resolutions 1 and 2.
There is a motion and second that we would adopt the commemorative memorial package. Are there questions on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, would you raise your voting card? Thank you. All those opposed, likewise. Commemorative memorial section, therefore adopted.
The next section is criminal justice, gun control in the wake of Parkland, eliminate racial sentence disparities, justice for Eric Garner, and urgent need for police accountability, calling for reparative racial justice measures in an effort for marijuana legalization, law enforcement policy regarding alert for missing persons. That is the section. Madam Chair, I move adoption of the criminal justice resolutions. We'll come back to them.
There is a motion and second that we would adopt the criminal justice section of the resolution. Are there questions on the motion? Microphone 5 is recognized.
Can you take it out? Will it come out? Can't get it out.
Just speak into it. Don't try to take it off.
Okay. All right, Miss. She said just speak into it.
Just talk to the microphone, please.
Thank you. My name is Elaine Harrington, Tuskegee, Macon County branch. I would ask for an amendment, which you have.
To which resolution, madam?
I'm sorry. Page 12. Resolution 1.
And if you would pause for a moment, madam. You have an amendment to Resolution 1. Is there anybody who has any amendments or questions about any other resolution in this section? Hearing none, madam, I move adoption of all resolutions in this section with the exception of Resolution number 1.
There is a motion and a second that we would move for adoption of all resolutions in the criminal justice section except Resolution 1. You've heard the motion. Are you ready for questions? All those in favor will let it be known by raising your voting card. Thank you. All opposed, likewise. The ayes have it, and it is so done.
Resolution 1. Resolve reads. She's in the, I know that, well, of Resolution 1, though.
Right.
Yeah. Therefore, be it resolved that the NAACP reaffirms its 2008 resolution. NAACP continues to support laws to prevent gun violence and increase gun safety nationwide, and its 2013 resolution, NAACP supports safe, sane, and sensible laws to prevent gun violence. Be it further resolved that the NAACP adopts the following as its gun control legislative priorities and urges their adoption nationwide. Raise the age to purchase a firearm to 21 years. ban future purchases and possession of bump stocks and other automatic capacity conversion kits, accessories, and parts, ban future purchases and possession of military-style assault guns and military high-capacity ammunition clips exceeding 11 bullets, ban straw purchases, conduct universal background checks to include the alerting and reporting of mental health issues that should disqualify an individual from gun possession, ban domestic terrorists or animal abusers, the seriously mental ill, and those on the Transportation Security Administration terror watch list from purchasing firearms, allocate increased resources to mental health programs for children enrolled in educational systems from K through 12, and restore funding to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention to study gun violence as a major public health issue, allocate federal resources to incentivize and assist states in improving reporting to the National Instant Criminal Background Check System, continue requiring background checks and permits for gun silencers, require micro-stamping or ballistic fingerprinting of all new firearms and ammunition sold in the U.S., repeal all state stand-your-ground laws, restoring the use of deadly force as a last resort, encourage local jurisdictions to utilize their buyer power to create incentives for firearm manufacturers to employ counter-marketing strategies to ensure that their retailers are using all available procedures to prevent illegal firearm diversion. Be it further resolved that the NAACP opposes arming teachers, faculty, and staff with firearms on school campus grounds, and be it finally resolved that the NAACP reaffirms its continued support for safe, sane, and sensible measures to end gun violence. I move adoption. Now, the amendment at microphone 5.
Dr. Harrington at microphone 5. What is your amendment?
My amendment is the final, be it finally resolved. I would ask that we would add at the end, to end gun violence and other forms of physical violence, because you've got knives and everything else coming into the schools, and other forms of physical violence. That is my recommended amendment. It doesn't destroy the resolution at all.
Is there support? There is a motion and second that we would add and other forms of physical violence at the end of gun violence, at the very end on our final resolve.
Is there debate?
Is there a debate?
No.
The committee opposes.
The committee opposes it. Is there other support or debate?
Mic number
At
5.
microphone 5.
Mic number 5, Diane Hawkins, Region 2, of course, New Brunswick Area Branch, NAACP. Okay. I'm just opposed to Elaine's amendment simply because physical violence is subject to one's interpretation. And today, the world in which we live, they look at our youth, just a youth that come into school and just might not smile right as being threatened. Okay, we're dealing with that today. So we have to be very careful with physical violence. We must be very careful with that.
Thank you, Delegate. Other comments?
Question on the motion.
Question has been called. All those that are in favor of the amendment, would you raise your voting card?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Oh, I'll raise my voting card.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
All those that are not in favor of the amendment, raise your voting card.
All right.
The amendment fails. Thank you.
Thank you.
All those in favor of the resolution as originally read, would you raise your voting card? Thank you. The resolution passed.
Yes, yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, man. Next section is on page 20, economic development. One resolution. Madam Chair, I move adoption of the economic development resolution.
There is a motion and second that we approve the economic development resolution. Is there a question on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor would please raise your voting cards. Thank you. All those opposed? The resolution is passed.
Next section is education, beginning on page 21. Prescribing unsupervised Confederate flag displays. Number 2, diversity and inclusion training in school systems. Number 3, eliminate racial disparities in school discipline. Number 4, school resource officers. Number 5, toward greater academic achievement through hiring greater diversity of faculty. Number 6, vision screening to detect traumatic brain injury. Number 7, widespread homelessness among college students. Madam Chair, I move adoption of the education section.
Yeah, we have a resolution. We have an amendment.
Okay.
We have an amendment that's been brought up to us from Region 7.
For 4.
Is anyone at a microphone?
Yeah, over there.
Microphone 9.
Yes.
Or 6, rather. 6 and 9 is what you say? Microphone 6 first.
Mr. Chairman, Willie Flowers, Howard County, branch 7020.
Which resolution, sir?
Number 4, school resource officer.
I would, at this moment, Madam Chair, I would ask that we defer action on resolution number 4. Person at microphone 9, for what purpose?
I want to strike down the second whereas. I'm sorry, be it there further resolved.
Wait a minute. You're at resolution at microphone 6, right?
Yes, 6.
We're not acting yet.
9.
At microphone number 9, what resolution are you looking at?
James Harris, Montclair Branch, New Jersey, looking at resolution number 9 on page 48.
No. We're in the education section. We're in the education section. At microphone number 10.
Willa Estelle Alcoa Blunt. A correction on our unit number is 5577.
That's fine. Any other? Microphone 4, what resolution?
Lynette Reddix, Missouri City and Vicinity. It was an emergency education I gave you to add.
No.
It's on diversity and inclusion training in school systems.
We don't have that.
We don't. Do they have it over there? Okay, so that would be.
It's not in the book.
It's not before us, okay. What microphone is this? Yes.
For resolution number, I'm Amari from Noy from Spelman College. Resolution number 5, I like the amendment.
Hold on. So that's.
Do we have it up here?
I'm sorry.
Do we have a copy of your amendment or what you wish to amend?
Oh, I'm sorry. I just want to change the spelling of Spelman College.
We will do that. That's
Okay.
grammatical. We'll do that.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Microphone number 10, what resolution?
Resolution 1, Mr. Chairman.
Hold on. Well, so we've got resolution 1, and resolution 4 so far. Any other resolutions that people have unreadiness about in the education section? If I understand correctly then,
Mr. Chairman,
Madam Chair,
No. We got somebody at microphone 2. 10.
And 5.
I already did 10. Is there somebody else at 10? Well, let me ask it this way. Is there any objection to resolution number 2?
Okay.
Is there any objection to resolution number 3?
Look at what
Any objection to well, we have number 4. Any objection to consideration of number 5? All righty. Any objection to number 6? Any objection to number 7? All righty then. Okay, so we're going to go through this packet one by one.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what they want to do. Beginning then with resolution number 1 under education. Therefore, be it resolved that the NAACP supports the prohibition of the unsupervised display of the Confederate flag in K through 12 schools, and be it finally resolved that the NAACP shall transmit this resolution to federal, state, and local elected and appointed officials responsible for education policy. Madam Chair, I move adoption of the resolution. Okay. Now, there was somebody who had an unreadiness with respect to resolution number 1 in this packet. Who is that? They didn't have an amendment. They had on resolution number 1. Is there unreadiness?
10.
Mike 10.
Microphone number 10.
Mr. Chairman, Curly Clark, President of Moss Point, Jackson County, NAACP branch, Mississippi. And I just had a point of information. I just wanted some clarity to make sure that in the resolution as read, that the Confederate flag display includes the Confederate flag emblem that's embedded in our Mississippi flag.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any
other unreadiness on resolution number 1 on education? All right, question has been called for. All those in favor of adopting resolution number 1 on education, let it be known by raising your voting cards. Thank you. Those opposed, same sign. The resolution passed.
Resolution number 2, diversity and inclusion training in school systems. Therefore, be it resolved that all units of the NAACP support and promote the positive impacts of a culturally diverse student population through diversity and inclusion training for all school board, senior administrative staff, instructional and support staff at every level, and students. Madam Chair, I move adoption.
There's a motion and second to adopt the resolution. Is there any questions on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please raise your voting card. Thank you. All those opposed? The motion is adopted.
Resolution number 3, eliminate racial disparities in school discipline. Therefore, be it resolved that the NAACP calls on the U.S. Department of Justice, the U.S. Department of Education, state departments of education, and local school boards to collect more data on school discipline disparities and their causes and effects, and be it further resolved that the NAACP calls upon the U.S. Department of Justice, U.S. Department of Education, and state departments of education to initiate and institute school, faculty, and staff training programs to expose and counteract racial bias in the classroom. And be it finally resolved that in school and out-of-school discipline disparities must be a part of any pending school desegregation litigation. Madam Chair, I move adoption of the resolution.
There's a motion and second that we would adopt the resolution. Are there questions on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please raise your voting card. Thank you. All those opposed? Ayes have it, and it is so done.
Number 4, and I understand we do have
Yes, we have it.
school resource officers. Therefore, be it resolved that all NAACP units advocate for their local school boards, that the primary responsibility of educating the children must reside with the teachers and the principals in the school and in the school system. And be it further resolved that the local NAACP units advocate to the local school board that the primary disciplinary responsibility for students, where needed, must reside with the teachers and principals in the school and school system. Be it further resolved that the local NAACP units advocate that police security officers should not work in or be found in schools. And be it further resolved that the NAACP urges all school districts with SROs to narrow the scope of responsibilities of SROs to only intervene in potentially life-threatening situations. And be it further resolved that a standard SRO policy and procedure manual describing SRO duties and that distinguishes them from those of school administrators is developed for nationwide use, and that SRO's duties are included with student code of conduct and the disciplinary matrix. Be it further resolved that the NAACP advocates for an annual report of data aggregated by race, gender, and type of offense that includes all student offenses and actions charged by SROs to be released and monitored to ensure the safety of all students in said schools. Be it further resolved that the NAACP units will use their annual report along with the data from the United States Department of Education, Office of Civil Rights, data collections to educate communities about racial disparities in school-based arrest, and will advocate to local school districts, state legislators, courts, and local law enforcement agencies to eliminate racial disparities in school-based arrests. Be it further resolved that the NAACP will advocate for legislation or other appropriate action that prohibits SROs from engaging in racial profiling and stop and frisk policies. Be it further resolved that the NAACP will advocate for legislation and or other appropriate action to mandate that all SROs must have specific yearly training in child development, de-escalation techniques, mental and physical limitations, and trauma, and recognizing and addressing implicit bias. Be it finally resolved, the NAACP will advocate for SRO policies to empower parents or the responsible adult for the child to intervene on the child's behalf before the child is questioned or legally detained. Madam Chair, I move adoption of the resolution.
Okay, second.
Microphone.
Microphone number 6, Mr. Flowers.
Yes, thank you. I want to get clarity on the second, be it further resolved, to make sure that it was deleted. This is page 2.
Page 26.
I'm sorry, page 26. And I'm asking to delete the second, be it further resolved line.
We have it. What is your reasoning?
The reasoning is it eliminates police from the schools. It reads that local NAACP units advocate that police security officers should not work in or found in schools.
And that is the resolve number. That's the third resolve, by the way.
Right.
I'm sorry. Thank you. Number 3.
All right.
The committee stands by its position.
Yeah.
Committee opposes. Debate.
Is there support?
We have support.
Okay.
Okay. Microphone number 8.
Yeah. Just talk.
Hello?
Yes.
All right. My name is Oliver Warren. I'm from Unit 3208 out of Wayne County, Ohio. I'd like to support the amendment. It kind of causes problems with local units that work pretty closely with the police because it's forcing smaller units to advocate for all SROs not to work in schools. That's the way I'm reading it, at least. Also, the rest of the resolution is beautiful, but this kind of is like, the rest of the resolution solves all the negative issues with having police in schools, whereas this kind of gets rid of the benefits, such as school safety.
Thank you, sir.
Two.
Mike.
Mike two.
Mike two.
Good morning. My name is Willie A. Terrell Jr., and I am the third vice president of Unit 3181. And I come to rise in the middle of the page where it talks about teachers and principals. Is it possible?
Delegate, we're on the proposed amendment to the resolution submitted by Mr. Flowers that would eliminate the third resolve. That's what we're discussing now.
Oh, okay.
Microphone 5.
Patrick Crabtree, 5044 Mobile. Being an educator, having taught in Atlanta Public Schools during the cheating scandal, knowing how the police was used against our children, they do not belong in the schools. I vote that we oppose this. Our children can better be served by the local administration and the teachers in the classroom. We do not need the police outside. They have removed the police from the schools. Now they are under the auspice of the school system, which works much better than the outside police who know very little about our kids.
Thank you, Delegate. Please know that the intent of the resolution is to talk about school resource officers.
No. Police officers.
Police officers.
Rather than
school resource officers. Okay? Microphone 4, you're recognized.
Thank you. Cassandra Littlejohn, Unit 6220. And I stand in support of the amendment until such time that the committee can provide more clarity. Because I think we need to be careful what we ask for. We need our resource officers as well as our law enforcement working along with the educators and the principals when needed. So I would like more clarity on what the intent of the committee in bringing the resolution is.
But we don't want SROs. We want SROs, but not police sworn officers.
Okay. Now, are we back to read microphone 2? Was there somebody at 2? She left.
There's one that, could somebody, the lady who's holding your card up at microphone 5, could you turn the sign around on microphone 5 so that we can see it?
The sign is backwards.
Flip the sign.
I know, they can see
Flip
it
the
on
sign.
I was going to say, I'm like, they can see it on
There you go. Thank you.
And then just turn the back around. There you go.
There, they turned it right back around.
Oh, they can see it on this side.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Microphone 5.
Yes, hi. My name is Carol Ransom. I'm on Unit 5139. I reside in Hillsborough County, Tampa, Florida. We had an incident, 79 students.
Get close to the mic. Get close.
79 students were arrested at school. These students were removed from the school without contact of parent or the state attorney's office. As a parent, when I send my kid to school, if he or she is going to be arrested at school, I think it's only fitting that someone will notify a parent before removing my child from that school.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Microphone 3. Talk.
As students in the school system, we support having the police and security officers in the school.
In the school?
In the schools.
All right. Thank you.
All righty. Number 2.
There's a mic 2.
Mic 2.
Ali, Santa Monica, Venice. The question becomes, how does this affect those districts, those school districts that have police officers as an entity within itself? The LA Unified School District has its own police force. Also, there's a distinction between police officers and security officers. Police officers are armed. Security officers aren't necessarily armed, and I think that distinction also needs to be also noticed. So there needs to be clarification as to specifically what the intent is
Thank you, sir. Microphone number 1.
Good morning. My name is Stephanie Wall. I represent the Howard County NAACP. Not only am I a silver member of this organization, but I am also a law enforcement professional who also happened to be an SRO in a high school and a middle school. And I want to share with you that because of an officer in a school is the reason why I chose to be part of the solution and join the police force in the first place, although I hold many degrees and can do something else. I will tell you that many times I have been the one to respond to calls that these administrators that have already chosen to decide that our children were not worthy to stay in the school, they should be suspended, but because I was already in the school and had built a positive relationship with the children, I could step in and say, wait a minute, I know this young man or young girl, they are more than what you wrote on that paper, and I kept them from being in this system. I'm telling you, there is some positives. There's more than one narrative, and I just wanted to share with you guys that there are other officers, Frank Dawson, who's the reason I stand here, Leah Littlefield, who's a middle school SRO, who every kid in these communities they've dubbed bad schools, she's in there. She knows them. She loves them. They're her babies. I'm saying you guys don't count them out just yet.
Thank you.
Because you're going to need them.
Thank you, Delegate. Thank you. Microphone 2.
Call a question, Madam and Mr.
All right, thank you, thank you. Microphone 6 has the last word. It's your amendment.
Call a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Carmel Henry, Washington, D.C. As a public school teacher in an urban area, I support that we eliminate this resolution. The reason is that police officers, they do more than arrest our students. The police officers also protect our students from people who are entering the community, and sometimes within the school district we have gang members within District of Columbia who enter the school, and I can tell you as a teacher.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. The question has been called for. The question has been called for. On the amendment.
No, we're at Mike 10. There are a lot of folks at Mike 10.
All right, Mike 10. All right, Mike 10.
No,
Thank you.
One person on Mike 10 because the question been called for.
Thank you so much. My name is Annette Edwards. I am here representing Henry County, Unit 560C, Stockbridge, Georgia. I am on the Henry County Board of Education. The one thing that we need to do is hold our SROs accountable. I work with students every day. I'm in the schools. I'm a retired teacher. We have to have SROs in our schools. I see it every day as a board member, but we have to hold them accountable. Of course, if we don't hold them accountable, yes, they can treat our children any kind of way, but as a board member, we make sure that we hold our SROs accountable. We do need these SROs in our schools. Now, I don't know if there's a difference in what you all are talking about police officers, but our SROs are sheriffs in our county, and we hold them accountable. They cannot come in our schools and treat our children any kind of way. So that's the key. We need them in our schools, but we also need to hold them accountable.
Thank you, Delegate. The question has been called for. That is to cut off debate. All those in favor of cutting off debate would please raise your voting card. Okay. All those opposed? Debate is cut off. All right. On the amendment to remove the third resolve clause from resolution number 4, all those in favor of removing that resolve clause from the resolution, please raise your voting card. All right. All those opposed to removing it?
It's removed.
It is removed.
Now, on the motion to approve
On the motion to approve resolution number 4
as amended,
please raise all those in favor, raise your voting card. All those opposed? The ayes have it. It is adopted. As amended.
Resolution number 5, toward a greater academic achievement through hiring greater diversity of faculty, staff, and administrators in public schools. It's Madam Chairman.
Yes, Ms. Huffman.
Mr. Chairman is violating his own rules. Take the sections that have not been pulled so we can move on. Not read each one, Mr. Chairman. I know you like to read them.
Madam Huffman.
I love you, Mr. Chairman.
Madam Huffman, I
Yeah.
love you too, but remember when I went through and I asked if there were objections?
Right.
There were objections to everyone.
No, it wasn't.
Yes.
You took the ones that had objections already.
Yes, that's the way it went. On number 5, therefore be it resolved, the NAACP will encourage all local branches to work directly with local school systems and through the local, state, and federal legislative process in order to establish and maintain more aggressively inclusive hiring practices in school systems, and be it finally resolved that the NAACP will urge all units to advance and work to implement the Mary McLeod Bethune process outlined above. Move adoption.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution. Microphone number 5.
And then 10.
My name is William Moss. I am the president of the ISOP Town Branch, number 2131 from New York. I do have an amendment here that I would like to propose as a helpful addition. I am a school administrator, and in this day and age when we have so much...
Do we have it up here?
No, we don't. I have it right here.
Go back to my rules. It has to be on the table up here.
I am asking for the chair to make an exception to the rule, given the situation at hand that we have with the diversity of staff in our school systems. I do have a very important amendment that has to do with the hiring of teachers and administrators and staff in schools by
All right.
seniority.
So if the delegate would bring it to the table, we'll move to microphone number 10.
Test.
Yes.
Yes, this is Bernard Simonson from Alabama. I rise for clarification on the schools that are listed. I'm not sure why those schools are listed or what they mean. Can someone clarify that?
Yeah, y'all remind me of why they're here.
Because some of the HBCUs are left out and some are included.
As well as some others.
Can someone clarify
yes,
that?
Mr. Simonton, actually the list is longer than this. It was the intent of the maker of the resolution that we would urge units to work and to implement the Mary McLeod Bethune process outlined in the resolution with those schools. But there is a comprehensive list that includes a lot of other schools.
Does it include Mississippi Valley State University?
I think it includes almost every school that, it was 2 or 3 pages long.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
Other objections?
Other objections to comments on this particular
Someone
resolution?
at microphone number 6.
Number 6, for what purpose does the delegate arise?
I am Delegate Dana Sally, Assistant Secretary from Baltimore City, Region 7, resolution number 6 on page...
No.
No.
We're not there yet.
Thank you.
We're still on 5.
Go back to 5.
No, we're getting copies of his amendment.
But we don't need to wait on him. He needs to read it.
Yes, sir. Microphone 5, would you read your amendment? Microphone 5. The gentleman at microphone 5, would you read your amendment?
I just submitted it to you. I'm sorry.
Read it. We need you to read it.
Tell us what it is.
The amendment would be an addition to the therefore be it resolved. So be it further resolved that I didn't copy it, no.
Can we ask that lady who had the amendment to number 6?
The delegate's amendment would read, be it further resolved, school systems shall not practice discrimination
discriminatory practices such as hiring only from within the school system and or hiring according to seniority or using seniority in the hiring of employees.
Yes. Seniority has been used as the new Jim Crow. Okay? When seniority is like a birthday, it's the date that you get hired at the job. When you are in the job and you want to get a promotion within the job, and they say they're going to hire by seniority, what that really means is people who got there before you have an advantage. In this day and age, especially in the suburbs and rural areas of our country, seniority is used as Jim Crow to stop qualified African Americans and people of color to have access to jobs, including in our teaching staff and administrative staff.
Is there support for the delegates' amendment? All right. All right, there is support. Okay, questions on the motion? We're going to vote on that amendment. All right. Those people standing at the mics, are you standing to address this amendment? If not, please back away from the mic and let us deal with this. Okay. Yeah, Mike 9. Just talking to it.
Speaking to the amendment.
Yes.
Anthony Harmon, the New York branch NAACP Local 2221. I rise to oppose this amendment. As a union person, I will tell you seniority is the sacred cow when it comes to hiring practices. And I don't think it's keeping people out, but it's helping to bring people and to elevate people. So I'm asking that the body vote this amendment down. Again, seniority is the sacred cow when it comes to the union movement.
All right. Number 8, are you speaking to this amendment?
Yes.
Please.
Sylvia Duvall, Lorraine, Ohio. We have a great relationship with labor unions. You're about to kill it.
Okay, thank you. I think that's what Anthony just said.
Number 7.
Number 7.
Julian Heilig, Sacramento, California Education Chair. This is the trope that was used in New Orleans to fire thousands of African American teachers. And so therefore, I oppose this amendment.
All right. Is there anybody standing anywhere that's for the amendment?
Okay, hearing none.
Hearing none, all right. We're going to call for the question.
On the proposed amendment.
All right. All those in favor of the proposed amendment, would you raise your voting card? All right, thank you. All those against the amendment, would you raise your voting card? All right, the amendment fails, thank you. On the original resolution, all those in favor of the resolution, raise your voting card.
Oh, wait, there was unreadiness, I think.
On the resolution? On this resolution. All right, number 3. Excuse me, delegates. Yes, sir. Get
number 3.
Get close to it.
John Lang, Terre Haute, Indiana branch. You know, this list of universities in here should either be taken out and then early on just mention historically black colleges and university, because by listing some and not listing all of us, it disenfranchises some of the schools. And it leaves the school, historically black college I went to, out of the list. So I think we either take all the names out or put all the names in, or just refer to them as historically black colleges and universities.
That's an editorial correction, and we agree with you.
Yes, sir.
So we will make that adjustment in the final print.
Yes.
Now,
are there any other comments relative to this particular resolution?
Seeing none.
Seeing none, all those in favor, raise your voting card. Thank you. All those opposed? Thank you. The resolution is adopted.
Resolution number 6. I understand that there is. Therefore, be it resolved that the NAACP advocates that the TBI screening conducted in preschool age children in all 50 states, and be it finally resolved that the NAACP advocate that all state and local juvenile detention centers or incarceration facilities
provide vision screening to all juveniles prior to trial so that the results can inform the pretrial report and the pre-sentencing report of a convicted person. Madam Chair, I move adoption.
There is a motion and second to adopt.
Where was she at? She was
Microphone
6.
Microphone 6, the amendment.
The amendment is on page 30, number 6. My name is Dana Sally. I'm Assistant Secretary from Baltimore City Branch, Region 7. I ask that you add, after the word vision, add vision and hearing screening to detect traumatic brain injury, and where it says, be it finally resolved in the last paragraph, I ask that you add, after the word vision, to add vision and hearing screenings to all juveniles prior to trial so that the results can inform the pretrial report and the presentencing report of
Thank you, Delegate. The committee agrees by common consent to add that to it.
Thank you.
Consent.
All right.
And the Maryland State Conference, the Maryland State Conference supports it.
Okay.
By consent.
Any others?
There's
Microphone 9?
And Mike, there's one here.
Okay.
Somebody
9, microphone 9. And then
Good
where?
morning.
over here where I can't see. Mr. Forward, would you sit down? Thank you.
7. Is it 7? Okay. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Good morning. I'm from branch number 2147, Freeport Roosevelt, Long Island, New York. I handed in the request under the therefore be it resolved and the NAACP. I'm just adding and add at the end where it says in all 50 states and shall advocate for state and federal legislation to increase access to treatment, eye exams, and visual rehab.
Consent. Consent.
Any objection?
Any objection?
Consent.
Consent. Thank you. All right. No. 7. Microphone 7.
Anthony Amos from Hawaii 1099. I'm speaking for this because when it comes to TBIs, being a former football player and athlete while in school, I've noticed the intensity of the moment and how many athletes completely ignore their health in order to be able to do this. And so therefore, I want to be it further resolved that we also push for making TBI screenings mandatory for physicals each year.
Is your amendment on the
do
table?
We have it?
Yes, I actually submitted it up there. It's TBI screenings making it mandatory for physicals in all contact sports.
Is it here making TBI screen? Don't have it.
We don't. That last one that we accepted by consent.
Did you guys get
We
it?
don't have it. We need her to bring it down.
Okay.
That lady at microphone 9 who was speaking there.
Okay.
Okay. Would the delegate from who introduced the last amendment with
Microphone 9.
yes,
bring
you
that to
bring us your wording. Mr. Hawaii.
Yes.
Do we have his language before us? Okay, we don't just repeat your wording because we don't have your form here.
Okay, be it further resolved that the NAACP advocates and pushes for making TBI screenings mandatory for athletes participating in contact sports each year.
Essentially adding a clause that calls for mandatory TBI screening in all physicals.
In all contact sports, yes.
In all contact sports.
What?
I think that's 9.
So did we accept his?
Yeah, we got that already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Oh, they already.
It deals with TBI.
Yes.
No contact.
Number 6, I think.
Yes.
My name is Ed Dorsey. I'm from Carbondale, Illinois branch. I just want to point out that the last 2 words, convicted person, we're talking about juveniles. And I don't think that we should look at our juveniles, our young people, as convicted persons. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Any others?
Number 9.
Number 9.
First page,
Get
Unit
close
6.
to your mic, please.
Doris Page, Unit 6109. I'd just like some clarification as to how the vision screening to detect traumatic brain injury was determined to try to, resulting in vision impairment. Who is going to do those screenings? TBIs they're very subtle. You might be able to see nystagmus. I'm a physician.
Yeah.
So
The recommendation, Madam, at microphone number 9 was that the TBI screening requirement become a part of the regular medical screening for the student.
If the persons or the committee who initially brought this particular amendment could explain their whole, and I apologize, but it's a very difficult thing to do. Pediatricians have difficulty doing these, and I'm just concerned that this would never be accomplished in the screening processes that we have now. TBIs usually don't show up unless it's an acute thing, unless you're looking for someone who's been abused with a head injury. So that's my concern.
Thank you, ma'am, for your information. Thank you very much. Microphone
4 and 5.
4 and then number 5.
Hi, my name is Garrison Guerrier from the Robertstein.
Speak louder.
My name is Garrison Guerrier from the Robertstein Duncan Youth Council, number 2973. I want to ask, instead of having all contact sports, just have all sports, because basketball is not considered a contact sport, but people still get traumatic brain injuries as well.
Thank you. Microphone 5.
Good afternoon. Reuben Roberts from Miami-Dade Branch, president of the Miami-Dade Branch. I have a question because I'm not sure. Since we're talking about juvenile offenders, I don't know if this has already been resolved. Do we have any language saying that advocating for the sealing and expungement of those juvenile offenders' records? Because this really affects them.
Not germane to the...
Thank you, sir, but your particular one is not germane to this particular resolution. We have dealt with that, but not in this resolution.
So you have something on the record saying that?
Yes, we do.
Okay,
thank you.
Back to microphone 7.
Microphone 7.
Oh, okay. I was wondering, she had a question about the contact sport. No? No? Okay, cool. All right.
Microphone 6.
Yes. This is Willie Fitzgerald from the state of Virginia, region of 7. And with the passage of the emergency resolution that included Puerto Rican, should we not now...
Sir,
that's not germane.
Not germane to this particular resolution.
Yes, it would be, as far as the contact, because you only have 50 states. Should we not also consider DC?
No, sir.
It's not germane, sir.
Not germane. Thank you, sir.
Number 1.
Microphone 1.
Vernon Ricks. Vernon Ricks.
Come on, microphone 1.
Is it on?
Yes, sir. Speak.
Vernon Ricks, Montgomery County, Maryland branch.
Talk to the microphone, sir.
Vernon Ricks, Montgomery County, Maryland branch, 7022. I'm concerned about about 50 states, saying only 50 states, because the District of Columbia, even though it is not a state, has contact sports. So
thank you.
The word 50 states should be eliminated and say
well
in
taken.
all jurisdictions.
We can add the District of Columbus. Thank you.
And all territories.
And all jurisdictions and territories. Thank you. The question has been called for.
We get that editorial?
The question has been called for. Is there a second? That means to cut off debate. All in favor, please let it be known by raising your voting cards. Thank you. All opposed? The ayes have it on the motion as amended. All those in favor would please, because we didn't pass no amendment, right? That's right. would please raise your voting card.
No, this is the amendment.
That was on the amendment. Thank you. All those opposed? All right. The ayes have it on the resolution as amended. If you're in favor, raise your voting card. Thank you. It is adopted.
On number 7. On resolution number 7, therefore be it resolved, the NAACP urges all state legislatures to adopt and fund a program that provides housing scholarships to college students that are registered as homeless, and to include funding for this program for every public university in the state. And be it finally resolved that NAACP units are encouraged to email or send by other means a copy of this resolution to the state legislatures and all boards of trustees of public universities within their respective jurisdictions. Madam Chair, I move adoption.
We have a motion and second to adopt the resolution. For what reason does the delegate arise at microphone 3?
Rhonda Greer Robinson, Unit 3. It says widespread of homeless among college students. It's just not college students, it's all students. We have kids that are homeless in elementary, middle school, high school, and it's just focusing on college, and I just want to
You're
change
absolutely
that.
correct. The intent of the submitters was that it applied to colleges.
College, yes, that was the intent. Thank you.
Number 10.
Microphone 10.
Madam Chair, this is James Major Woodall, Branch 5250, Bullitt County, Georgia. I rise to propose 2 amendments to this. The first.
Are they before us? Do we have them?
I'm sorry?
Do we have them up here?
No, it's just a small word. It's
okay.
It's just a wording.
So it's editorial? Let's hear.
The first is, it says undergraduate colleges and universities. I would ask that we remove undergraduate due to graduate students also having the issue of homelessness. And the second would be for every public university, I would ask that we change that to universities receiving public funding.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Consent? Okay, consent. We accept yours. Editorial. Any others?
Number 6.
Number 6.
Hello. My name is Nettie Stevens. I'm from the Reno Sparks branch, number 1112 in Nevada. And I have a point of information about the study mentioned in the second whereas. I just wanted to know if that study also includes college students who are able to afford housing, but because housing is so high given the rental market, they are unable to afford groceries.
Well, they can't.
Oh, they can't afford groceries.
Well, if they can't afford it, it applies to them also.
So the resolution applies to students who do have housing but can't afford grocery because of how high rent prices are?
I think that introduces a whole new subject.
I think that's a different subject matter. I think we'd have to have another resolution for that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other unreadiness?
I don't see anybody.
All right, all those that in favor of the resolution with the editorials that we've had, would you raise your voting card? Thank you. Any opposed? Resolution is adopted.
Madam Chair, I move adoption of the Environmental Affairs section of the resolution package.
All right, do we have any resolution?
We have an amendment.
Do we have an amendment?
Okay. Amendment to resolution number 2.
Does any delegate stand?
Yes. Number 4. Yes.
Good morning.
Yes.
I am Kevin Felder.
And your objection is to which one?
I want edits.
To which one?
Basically to most of it, because let me explain.
To which one? 1 or 2?
1.
Is there any need to deal with number 2?
Yes, we have an amendment.
Okay.
We already have a written amendment.
All right. Madam Chair.
Can I proceed, sir?
Madam Chair. Yes, sir. On number 1. Therefore, be it resolved that the NAACP urges the United States Congress to maintain the international prominence and probity of our nation by restoring much-needed funding of the Green Climates Fund, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, and the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, and restore our country's leadership in global climate diplomacy. I move adoption of the resolution.
Yes.
Number 4.
Actually, number 2, sir, is where I want my edits.
I ask you.
Well, I made a mistake. Is that all right?
No.
I need to make this edit. This is very serious.
On number 1, then, all those. Well, go ahead. Is there objection to number 1?
Is there objection to number 1? Question has been called for. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Raising your vote cards. Thank you. Any opposed? Mrs. Chairman, so it is so adopted.
Number 2 now.
Number 2, thank you.
No, wait. Therefore, be it resolved that the NAACP stands in opposition to nuclear energy and attempts to avoid the much-needed inevitable energy transition by merely converting from one fossil fuel source to another. And be it further resolved that the NAACP reaffirms its support of renewable... Oh, they don't?
No, they all deal with the whereas. But go on and read the result.
Yeah. Okay. Where was that? Okay. Reaffirms its support of renewable energy sources as the safest, most viable power alternatives, and emphasizes the need for a just energy transition that will avail equal opportunities, job training skills, reclassification of the fossil energy labor force, provide access, ownership, economic and job opportunities for workers, people of color, and low to moderate income individuals who continue to be the most adversely and disproportionately impacted by the use of fossil fuels. And be it finally resolved that the NAACP urges international allies of the United States, federal, state, and local governments to deny taxpayers and ratepayers funding of experimental fossil fuel projects which continue to preserve and maintain fossil fuel energy production. Madam Chair, I move adoption of the resolution.
All right.
And Madam Chair, I understand that the gentleman's amendments are with respect to the whereas clauses of the resolution, and they are editorial.
Yes.
And the committee has reviewed them and finds them acceptable.
Yes.
Sir,
So you may
basically what I want to talk to you about is, I'm sorry?
We accept them as editorial. They relate to the whereas. So you're good. We can incorporate them.
Can I tell you what it is I want to add?
No, you already have told us. We have it.
Don't argue with him. Let him speak.
I didn't hear you.
Let him go and speak.
All right, so speak.
Are you ready?
Go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Kevin Felder, Vice President of Dallas Branch 6169, and also a Dallas City Council person. The reason I'm bringing this forward is because we're dealing with a serious issue. The issue is batch plants, concrete and asphalt batch plants. You're talking about renewable energy, but we're talking about a situation that happened in Dallas in a freedman's town, a freed slave settlement, where batch plants, concrete and asphalt batch plants, were polluting the area. And so all I'm asking you to do is to add concrete and asphalt batch plants along with renewable energy, because that is a threat to low income and poor people and that particular area, and probably other areas throughout the country.
The proposed amendments are not, in this case, you were lucky. You were luckier before you explained your amendment. Your explanation indicates that this is not germane to the subject matter. Right. Plus, we already have environmental resolutions that deal with the subject matter that you're addressing.
In here?
Not in here. Our policy already exists. It's already inclusive of that.
Yes.
Okay. Now, the question has been called.
Question has been called for. All those in favor of the resolution, let it be known by raising your voting card. Thank you. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Resolution is adopted.
Section on health. Madam Chair, I would move adoption of the section on health. Alzheimer's dementia care is number 1, dementia care. Number 2 is elimination of food deserts. Number 3 is prescription drugs, eliminating pharmacy benefit manager programs. I move adoption of the resolution, Madam Chair. Is there anything on the?
I don't see anything.
Okay.
All right.
Any objection to anything in the health packet? Objection to anything in the health packet? Okay. At number 3. Number 3.
Yes. Hello, I'm Diamond Jackson from Region 3. I would like to add under the section where it says, therefore be it resolved.
Which one?
At number 1. On page 36.
Do we have your amendment in writing?
Is it an amendment or is it editorial?
It's amendment.
Okay, we need it in writing.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Now, I'm going to remind y'all, I read y'all the rules and y'all approved them.
Okay.
All right?
All those in favor of adopting the resolutions in the health section, would you raise your voting card?
No, with the exception of one.
With the exception of one, would you raise your voting card? Thank you. All those opposed? Ayes have it, and all of the resolution except one, and we are allowing her to try to get her resolution, get her amendment together, are adopted in the health section.
All right.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Ms. Dukes recognized.
We have time for her to get her amendment ready. Her amendment should have been ready. We are now at after 12:15. People are going to walk out here to go to these luncheons. We have some important emergency resolutions that we ought to get to. If they don't have an amendment up there, we shouldn't allow for amendments to come now. The chairman did have the rules. We ought to appoint where we got and do the work of this resolution, because that's all we come here to do, really, is resolutions. And those emergency resolutions are very important. Beside this, if they didn't read them before they got them, and thinking about amendments here, we don't need to hear them.
That's good, but they ain't got
I move the order today.
Okay. They are here.
You can work them in.
Okay. All right. Okay. What do you got
All right.
love for? What are they for?
All right. Where is
We
she?
moving.
Where is the amendment?
We didn't get it. We didn't get it.
Where?
Okay.
Okay, Madam Chair, we're moving now to the resolutions on housing.
Yes.
And I would move the adoption of the one resolution on housing.
We have a motion and a second that we would adopt the resolution on housing. Are there any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your voting card. It is so adopted.
You didn't ask for the opposes. Internal Affairs, Madam Chair, I would move adoption of the section on Internal Affairs.
Okay. There is a motion and second that we would adopt the section on Internal Affairs. Are there any questions on the motion? Microphone 9.
James Harris, Montclair, New Jersey, Region 2. On page 48, Resolution 9.
We will remove it, Ms. Harris, and we'll adopt the rest of them. Resolution 9? Okay. All right.
No. Which,
okay.
On number, which one?
9.
Number 9.
All those in favor of adopting all of the resolutions on internal affairs with the exception of resolution number 9, would you raise your voting card?
What?
Is it 6 or 9?
Yeah, resolution number 6.
I'm sorry, resolution number 6. All those in favor of adopting all of the resolutions in internal affairs except resolution number 6. Would you raise your voting card? No, just 6. Okay. All those opposed?
The clarification for those who don't understand it, his concern is with the section number 9 under
Resolution 6. Yes. All right. All those opposed? They all are adopted except resolution number 6.
Now, Mr. Harris.
Here's his amendment. He just wants to add.
My concern is that we have a problem throughout the country where information received to the unit is not shared with the membership.
Okay.
So I'm proposing that we include a section in this resolution that requires that correspondence be shared with the membership when received at the branch.
Yes, sir. So, common consent. Are we going to do it by common consent?
I don't care who does.
That's accepted by the committee by consent.
Thank you.
On,
so we don't have to do it? Okay.
well, no.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Okay.
I move adoption of number 6 in internal affairs. As amended.
As amended. Any questions?
Carry the motion.
Yeah.
All right, folks, so while the NAACP folks are going back and forth over these resolutions and parliamentary procedures, I said, what the heck, we're going to break away. And so Danielle Sitdor, sister out of Cleveland, NAACP, she said, I want you to meet my 2 sons. I'm like, okay, so she brought 2 sons over. And so I met them. And then she started telling me about the business that they have. And so I said, what the heck, we can have an interesting conversation. So first and foremost, so pull the microphone up to tell folks your name, who you are.
My name is Noah Foster.
I'm Giles Foster the 5th.
Giles the 5th.
Yes, sir.
Oh, through the 5th in there. All right, so y'all got a business. What's the name of the business?
Our business is Suds Brewing Co.
Suds
Brewing Company. Yes.
Suds Brewing Company. All right, so how old is Suds Brewing Company?
It'll be 2 years old in October.
Okay. All right. So first of all, explain Suds Brewing Company. What is it?
At Suds Brewing Company, we brew all-natural beer soap. So it might sound crazy, but it's actually very, very good for your skin. We use, instead of using water in our soap, we use beer because the anti-inflammatory and amino acids found in hops, one of the main ingredients in beer.
Yeah, so we saw that beer can be really good for your skin from a woman that was making beer soap for her son that had eczema. So we wanted to try it out. So we tried it because our mom has eczema, and we tried it out. And it.
So where'd you sit? What did you sit on YouTube? Were you watching a news show?
So we saw a video of a woman in Seattle, Washington. Yeah, it was on Facebook, but it was from YouTube. Yes.
And so y'all said, oh well, making for his mama with eczema. So my mama had eczema. So let's try it.
Exactly.
And so what? So did he have the whole explanation of how he did it online?
No.
So it took some time of researching and looking at different recipes and looking at what products we actually want to use in our soap. The video was just only like a news story, I think, on Facebook. And what we ended up doing was finding a soap calculator that tells us like how many of each thing you need in the bar to make it kind of make it resourceful for your skin. So make make sure your skin's like clean and comfort. So the different kind of oils and things that are good for that.
Okay, and so when you went through all of that, and then all of a sudden you went, wow, this works.
Yeah, and she said, so we don't want to make any medical claims in the sense that it cures, but it does help with that inflammation. People who deal with skin ailments know that at times your skin can just get inflamed for no reason, and sometimes you use steroids for that. You use different creams they give you. And we kind of say we have an all-natural remedy for inflammation. It helps soothe and calm that inflamed patch or rough patch down.
So basically, your mama was your guinea pig.
Yeah.
All right. So how many times did you have to do the soap to get it right?
Oh, so at the beginning, our soap looked totally different from what it does now.
What did it look like?
We went through a lot of trial and error. It's kind of like a loaf of bread, somewhat, like a mini loaf of bread. So I mean, we went through a lot of trial and error. The first time we made it, we sent this to some of our family members, and it didn't work exactly. Yeah, it didn't help. Like, it was too dry, and it made your skin too dry.
Now, were they mad at y'all making their skin dry?
Just a little bit. Yeah. So then we got it back, and we also realized, it didn't smell too good. So we found some all-natural fragrance oils and all-natural essential oils to add in to make it smell good. So after a bit of trial and error, we made sure that the oils were good enough to make to lather up and to bubble up, and also to make the skin feel good and to make it smell good.
So how long did that take? So how long was it between starting it and then finding the right mix?
We say about 2 months, because then shortly after that, they created the website. My mom and my brother, they created the website, and we started off from there.
And so you've now had it for how long?
So the website?
The company. Yeah, website. So how long have you been where everything is straight and you've been selling it?
So we say our initial start date is at like October, November 2016. So this October, November, it'd be our second year going through this, taking it really seriously.
All right. So you've been selling on the website.
Yes.
All right. So let's hold up the packaging so he can get a shot of it. He'll zoom in. And so explain your packaging. Who created that?
So we have a all women's design firm in the west side of Cleveland that actually came up with the different designs for our packaging. We ran through a couple different types of professional packaging that could potentially be on our soap, and we ended up settling on this just because the artwork was really done well and all the different color schemes and things.
So then y'all have the artistic rendering of both of you.
Yeah, so we have a little cartoon version of us right here.
Gotcha. The Bruise Brothers?
Yeah, the Bruise Brothers.
Okay, but your hair was bigger on the what happened? You got a cut?
I cut my hair like 3 weeks ago.
You can't have that picture of you looking like that, and then you cut your hair. You're messing up the branding.
I didn't when you do things out of emotion to get rid of it, you don't really pay attention to it. Or you don't really pay attention to it. But I know I should. I kind of regret it now, but I like my new cut though. I haven't had a low haircut.
But now you got to change the packaging.
Yeah, or grow my hair back out.
Right. I say you leave. I say you leave it. That way you got to go through it again. All right. So you sell on the website, and how's that going?
It's been going good for us. So we got our initial start back home in Cleveland. We were able to go on NPR. It's a local radio station, and we were allowed to. We had the opportunity to go on that radio show for 100 Things to Buy this holiday season, and cohort of that, we were able to get a good boost of sales directly to the website. So maybe like 20, 30 orders coming out of the radio station, go back to school. So that kind of got our initial boost, and then again we went on the news. So like a couple months later, and it got another boost of sales. So it's really been good because people. It's shown people actually are willing to go to it, and it works effectively to get customers.
Now, how are you producing it? So, is it a company who makes the soap, or y'all do each bar?
Yeah, we make all the soap ourselves. We're currently working on some bigger, like mass production or something.
So, how long does it take? So, how long does it take to make? Well, first of all, how many different bars do you have? Is it only one, or do you have a?
So we have 5 different bars.
Okay.
And they're all on our website. If you go to sudsbrewingcompany.com, they're all on our website with the 5 different fragrances we carry. One of them is seasonal.
Yeah, one of the Christmas sale is our seasonal bar, which actually gets like a lot of really good sales.
All right. So you got 5 different bars. How long does it take you to make each bar?
Well, so when we make the soap, you pour it. About 15 bars comes out of each batch.
15 or 50?
15.
Okay.
Yeah, so about 14 to 15 on average. So it takes about an hour just to make the first 15, and then about like 10 extra minutes for each extra batch. So we could do like 4 batches in like close to 2 hours, a little under.
All right. And so what? Are you making this on the stove at home? What are you doing?
Yeah, so about exactly that. So some of our process is done on the countertops, and some of it's done on the stove when we melt the oils or we're mixing the beer and lye together. It just depends what part, yeah.
So if you got like 100 orders, y'all got like some work to do.
Exactly. That's why we try and, yeah.
Yeah, we do, but we got a little capital under our belt, and we're looking to move out our home finally.
Because your mama like, look, I'm tired of stuff being on the damn counter. Y'all making a mess out in the house with all this soap.
Yeah, she makes us clean up before we do anything. If you go anywhere, you got to clean up. Yeah, but we're looking to move out. We're working with a few local organizations back home in Cleveland. They've been very, the entrepreneurship companies in Cleveland and community has been really grateful to us. So.
Cool. So we told how long it takes, and your own process, and so how many do you want to eventually get to where you're like, you know what, yeah, we got to go ahead make it full time?
Like make the company full time?
Yeah.
Well, we're still in school right now, but eventually. Yeah, I'm only 15, and he's 13.
Yeah, but if you start selling some soap,
you gotta make it full time.
You gotta make a decision.
Yeah. Well, we're finished school. That's the thing. We want to be up to the point where by the time I graduate high school, we have some people in place and procedures in place where it's running itself.
And how much does the soap cost?
It's $7 a bar. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Yeah. Well, sounds good. Now get the name of the website again.
It's Suds Brewing Company. Suds Brewing Company Co.com. SUDSBREWING Co.com.
All right then. And these two are what are they called? That one is what?
This one is the Eucalyptus Lavender Bar.
Eucalyptus Lavender.
And this is our lemongrass oatmeal spice bar. We currently also have 2 more on the website.
All right. I appreciate it. All right, sounds good. Cool. All right, we're going to go back to the stage. While we were actually talking, you might have overheard us. The NAACP unanimous opposed the nomination of Brett Kavanaugh to the Supreme Court. Of course, he was a nominee of President Donald Trump. And so as we were chatting, they actually just passed that resolution behind us. So let's go back to now on the podium.
So done.
There will be on this resolution, the Daisy Bates, in order to make sure it's properly funded, there will be a little editorial, but it won't affect the body, the intent of the resolution to create the institute. So we're good.
All right. I need to do the resolution. I'll do the amendment on 6.
Need to go back to health.
Resolution 1.
We can do that almost editorial.
Yes.
Where she's putting that in is clearly.
Right. Resolution number 6 under health, number 1 under health, under Alzheimer's.
We can do it editorially.
Page 36.
Page 36. The delegate is asking that we add after the word diagnosis, care and treatment be added in that section. Without objection, that will be added. Any objection? None.
Seeing none, it is so done.
Madam Chair, I move adoption as amended.
All those in favor, please raise your voting card. Thank you. All those opposed, it is done.
Madam Chair, I believe that we have concluded and worked out all of the resolutions that were properly before us.
Yes.
I congratulate all the ones that were properly before us. For what reason does the delegate at number 3, microphone 3, stand? Number 3.
Not on
Turn
yet.
up.
Not on yet. Thank you. We're representing Galesburg Branch 3016. So the question I have, it is on the emergency one that was adopted together, where we talked about, it says NAACP strongly supports the Puerto Rican Admission Act of 2018, and I will confess this is my first convention, so I was still unclear on how the process works. So my question is, it's really to the first whereas, and again, it says on June 11, 2011, the U.S. citizens of Puerto Rico voted overwhelmingly in favor of, well, there's a typo there, but
what's your question?
Well, it's inaccurate. It wasn't an overwhelmingly vote. Only 20% of the Puerto Ricans actually voted. So again, in this document, it actually makes us to believe that there was an overwhelming vote, and that's just inaccurate. And the only reason, and I'm specifically saying this, is because our branch treasurer is a Puerto Rican citizen, and so she feels extremely strong about this. And again, given the commotion, having the governor speak, there was no time to actually talk about this at that time. So again, I didn't know when to present this, so that's why I'm here now. Thank you.
Thank you. We've heard the issue. We'll go back. We'll look at the language.
Well, and look at the source of your facts. Only 20%.
We will. Microphone number 9.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I'm Byron Treaster. I'm the president of the Santa Fe branch, branch number 6109. Earlier today, Region 6 adopted a proposed emergency resolution and submitted it to you in writing, which addresses the emergency of the vacancy on our U.S. Supreme Court and the likelihood that the filling of that vacancy will result in the reversal of Roe versus Wade, and this would disproportionately have an adverse impact on women of color.
And the chairman of the board received your resolution.
Yes.
However, the chairman of the board knew that in the packet we already had a resolution that opposed the nomination of Judge Kavanaugh, which has been adopted. Therefore, the chairman, who has the responsibility to determine whether to approve emergency resolutions, along with the president and the vice chair of the resolutions committee, felt that the issue was significantly covered in the resolution with respect to Judge Kavanaugh.
Although it does not expressly address Roe versus Wade.
Thank you.
Is that your position?
That's my position.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Ms. Huffman. Microphone 2.
Mr. Chairman, your favorite board member.
Yeah.
I need you to inform us as to the status of the bylaw changes that were critical to go with the Constitution that we passed that were not in the packet. Is there a process by which we can inform the delegates and take them up at the board meeting?
Well, I want to make sure that I'm understanding what the delegate is asking.
Well,
let me all of the resolutions that contained information about bylaws affecting branches, youth councils, college chapters, young adult councils, or high school chapters were considered by this committee, and they were reported out and adopted favorably during this section.
You did that,
now,
Mr. Chairman.
On resolutions affecting the state area conference.
They were not those, Mr. Chairman.
Then we're
Chairman,
at a loss. Now we're at a loss as to recognize. Exactly.
I'm not asking you to do it today. I'm telling you, we stayed up yesterday. We sent you 7 resolutions that were critical. Sent them to you, sent them to the president, CEO, and sent them to Mr. Hillary Shelton, and they didn't show up this morning. Now, I'm not asking that we do something because they're not here and the delegates haven't seen them. I'm just asking, can we send them out and then take...
The board of directors will take them up on at our October meeting.
Thank you.
But Ms. Huffman, because we're unclear as to what this is about, we need to sit down and look at the resolutions with you.
Thank you. There were Article 8s, Article 10s, their favorites, that affect how we do business, and a couple of others that were germane to branches, not just state conferences, that should have come to the floor.
We'll find them and we'll take them up at the October board meeting.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, with that, the Resolutions Committee has ceased its business, completed its business, and it's your program or Mr. Hooper's program.
Thank you, delegates, for your kindness. I have an announcement that was sent to me, and I ask that you hear it and please abide by it. This delegate says that her convention bag was mistakenly taken with a pair of wedge shoes, a Samsung, a charger, convention receipt slip with her personal information. Yvonne Williams, contact 917-915-3247. So if you know anything about this person's information, because it could have been you, please try to give it to that. Thank you. The number again is 917-915-9247.
Delegates, if you'll just please hold still for a second as I bring forward our chairman of the Environmental Justice and Climate Justice Committee, Ms. Catherine Eglin, for the purposes of signing of a memorandum of understanding between the Pan-African Climate and Environmental Justice Alliance, of which she will also be joined by our President and CEO.
Thank you, delegates. Over the course of several years, the NAACP has had the privilege to engage with the Pan-African Climate Justice Alliance on environmental and climate justice issues that confront people of African descent across the planet. The NAACP has been represented internationally at the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change for the past decade. As chairman of the board's NAACP Environmental and Climate Justice Committee, I had the pleasure of being introduced to our esteemed guest in Warsaw, Poland some years ago by our own Jackie Patterson, Senior Director of Environmental and Climate Justice Programs. Since that time, Jackie and I have maintained a close working relationship with the Pan-African Climate Justice Alliance, meeting here in the United States as well as in other countries across the globe on climate change issues. All of you present today will be a witness to history as the discussions, evaluations, and studies of the issues that are most glaring to our Pan-African brothers and sisters and the NAACP have caused both of our organizations to institutionalize our working relationship with the signing of this Memorandum of Understanding. Friends, delegates, alternates, observers, please join me in giving a hearty NAACP welcome to Mr. Mathika Mwenda, Secretary General of the Pan-African Climate Justice Alliance from Nairobi, Kenya, and Mr. Augustine Nashami, Chair of Political and Technical Affairs of the Pan-African Climate Justice Alliance, and he is from Cameroon. Yes, we're going to sign him and you can speak, okay? Get to it. Yeah, get to the other one. Yeah. It's in the back. Yeah, it's in the back. Okay, there we go. I'll get the other one.
I make short. So, thank you very much. Derek Johnson, CEO and President, NAACP. Leon Russell, Chairman of the Bund NAACP. Colleagues, members, Board of Trustees, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure, a sense of pride and belongingness and hope as I stand in front of you, this audience, and enter into annals of history in the roster of honor of distinguished personalities who have in the past spoken in the previous 108 NAACP conventions. We join you here today, dear people, at this historical convocation of the members, friends and partners of NAACP in the wake of a series of setbacks, competing with huge successes of the civil rights movement, both in US and across the globe. Despite profound provocation, your resilience as people have seen you overcome all obstacles and indeed turn them into opportunities. And the one you are facing now, which I may not want to mention, you will overcome as well. As I was leaving Nairobi on Sunday, former President Obama and his entourage was arriving in Kenya for a 3-day African tour since he left office, first to visit his grandmother, Kin, and thereafter deliver a keynote speech during the commemoration of Andre's birthday of an apartheid icon, Nelson Mandela, in South Africa. My travel here in the US, accompanied by my colleague, Augustine, here from Cameroon, who is also the co-founder of PAGJA, of our organization, is truly symbolic in this nature. While President Obama is in Africa to invigorate and rekindle the dimming flames of democracy, respect for human dignity and intergenerational justice, we join you in solidarity as people with shared vision and destiny and facing similar challenges in globalized world. We are not alone in this movement against any deliberate effort to rewind the clock of emancipation. May yet in the United States, Africa, or elsewhere in the world, may it be black, white, or mixed heritage, the rich and poor, the world has moved. As president, Obama enjoyed celebrity status and street lines with anxious sea of humanity eager to throw a glance at him. Elsewhere in the UK, thousands of people poured in the streets of London to express their displeasure through demonstrations to voice their concerns over the policies of Trump and his administration, exemplifying the paradox of two ideologies, that for the people and that for the corporate. So which one do we follow? For the people or elsewhere? It is indeed historic that our coming together here on this 109th National Conventions comes at the heels of this announcement of intention pulling out of the Paris Agreement, where a meeting of 200 nations led by USA with the full backing of former President Obama committed to reduce greenhouse emissions, a landmark agreement that is yet to be fully unraveled and will take years to fully implement. It will require the local global solidarity, North-South partnership among people like the ones which we are doing, strength and voices from movements such as this NAACP, and this is what we are delivering today. Instead of dampening the spirit of determined people to leave the world a better place than we found it, the current president of US intended pulling out of global solidarity as it resulted into unprecedented galvanization of the climate justice movement, germinated from the bowels of the US grassroots, and sooner than later will swallow everybody if we are not careful. The far challenge, viewed before as far-away problem, particularly for Africa, is at American doorstep. In the past, we thought that this is African problem. Now it is problem for humanity. And this effect on climate change will make people move across borders, But we really need to look into this very seriously. It has been documented that 71% of African Americans live in counties where there is violation of federal air pollution standards as compared to 56% of the overall population. Nearly 70% of African Americans live within 30 miles of coal-fired plant, which in 2016 generated 30% of the United States electricity, and so forth and so forth. So we need really to respond to all these issues. So this memorandum of understanding, which we have inked today between PAGJA and NAACP, marks another milestone, particularly for African people and African Americans, who are disproportionately affected by the ever-increasing impacts of climate change. 10 years ago in South Africa, we made a resolve like we are doing today, that we will shout at the rooftops of climate justice, AGO, in international climate discourses, and now everyone acknowledges the justice aspect of this crisis. Ladies and gentlemen, as I end, I want to note that the UN Decade of Afro Descendants, we will tenaciously work with you, NAACPC, and other compatriots to promote justice response to climate change and ensure communities disproportionately affected by its adverse effects have a voice in defining its solutions. We will work with allies from North and South, developing and developing countries, neighborhood communities, in common vision set under Agenda 2030, the Goal 17, and we need all this partnership. And on my behalf, and on behalf of PAGJA and African brothers and sisters, I proclaim, long live NAACP, long live solidarity, long live the vision of Marcus Garvey, and long live Pan-Africanism. Thank you very much.
On behalf of the NAACP, we're going to present you with a small token of our partnership.
Thank you.
And this is yet another example of how we are reaching outside of the U.S. borders to partner with communities of the African diaspora. Because what impacts us here impact Africans globally, and what impact Africans globally impact us here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Before we get to the benediction, I just want to announce the Image Awards ticket winner for today is Mr. Dorn Walker. Mr. Dorn Walker. For anyone else who would like to participate, please participate in the scavenger hunt down in the NAACP experience in the exhibit hall. And now we've come to the end. Providing us with our benediction for today will be Reverend Dr. Michael Jala, the senior pastor of the exciting West End Baptist Church here in San Antonio.
May we stand in preparation of the closing of this session. O God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, Thou who hast brought us thus far, we come now, God, just to say thank you for what you've allowed us to do during this session. Now, God, we pray for thy direction and spiritual guidance for all of our sessions on this day and even our workshop on today. Now, God, we pray that not only will you bless us, but, oh God, that you would bless us as we leave. And now may the grace of God, the love of our Lord and Savior, Jesus our Christ, and the sweet communion of the Holy Spirit rest, rule, and abide in each and every one of our lives until we all meet again. We say amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend. You are dismissed.
Lord have mercy.
God bless.
Now, wait a minute.
All these audibles.
A lot of audibles.
I got